hello and welcome to another unbearably warm day here where I'm going to talk a little bit about this game that we're all very hyped about, Europa Universalis 5. If you're interested in more of that, hit the subscribe button because I keep making a couple of videos a week and it's good fun. So, let us get in and talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is China, the flavor for China. And this is not just, flavor for the Great Yuan. This is not just flavor for the Qing or the Ming or whoever it is that ends up forming. This is all of them all together, and all of them all together counts as a tier 1 flavor nation. One of the, was it 5 or 7? I don't remember, but one of the top dogs when it comes to who has the most flavor. So let us get in and learn a little bit about it. We encounter the curious situation that China, at the start of the game, the Yuan dynasty, is not actually Chinese, but they are Mongolian. So some of the content will be specific for that, while others is general for the China tag. Established by Emperor Borjigin Kublai, the Great Yuan now controls the vastness of a great dynasty. Having tamed China, and under Emperor Kublai's great leadership, they managed to reach new heights of prestige and splendor. However, their influence over the subcontinent is waning. Internal strife, instability, and cultural friction have replaced what once was prosperous and magnificent. Those who wish to dethrone them and usurp the mandate are gathering their strength. Plotting and scheming with Yuan's borders, they seek to find weakness with the dynasty's rule, vying for the scraps of power and a seat in the books of history. Only one can sit on the dragon throne and fulfill the will of heaven. So, here we have Togon Temur Huangdi. He's 16 years old, pretty average stats. Great Yuan has 91.5 million pops. Of course, their primary culture is Mongolian, and Mongolian isn't even 5 million of these 91 million. I have no idea which one of these will end up being Mongolian. It could even be this one, or this one, or this could be any of them. But there are an insane number of cultures within this country, which is probably why, being the Emperor of China, the mandate holder gives you plus 50 cultural capacity, because it's kind of necessary. They start with a really small army force compared to, any of the Europeans that we've seen so far. 13,000 seems incredibly small for such a colossal country. 1,800 urban settlements. Their tax base of 1,500 is insanity. But yeah, who knows if this is going to, fall apart and die and collapse and cripple and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let us have a look at what else we have here. You can see, obviously, with the new content tab, you can then click on here to see what country bonuses they get, what they get for being Mongolian, what they get for being a monarchy, and what they get for being a settled country, which is cool. Anyway, new map. I still feel like the Great Yuan could probably do with a color update. Like, I always kind of vibed with it being some version of red. I don't know. I think maybe a version of red would look quite striking and quite nice on the map. I do remember a long time ago somebody complaining about the color, and the response from the devs was, we're still working on it, give us suggestions, blah, blah, blah. It seems like none of the suggestions that they got managed to convince them, or maybe somebody was like, no, this is the color of Great Yuan, this is what we want. I still wouldn't mind seeing a color change, but let me know what you guys think, if there is something that would be better. So, they start with a unique reform, the legacy of Emperor Borjigin Kublai, giving them plus 3 culture capacity, which, you know what, compared to the plus 50 they get from being, the mandate holder, kind of feels like a little weak, but who knows. Every little helps, right? He was one that solidified our rule over China. He adopted the style of the Chinese and proclaimed himself Huangdi of the Middle Kingdom. As long as we follow in his footsteps, our authority over the Dragon Throne will be recognized. Also, another government reform available to all Chinese or Sinicized countries. You get the 3 departments. You get set policy cost minus 33%, change minus 10%, an extra government reform, so it's essentially free, and plus 10% admin efficiency, which is a great modifier. The 3 departments and 6 ministry system originates from the ancient Chinese empires and the primary administrative structure of the state. All departments focus on several aspects of the process of drafting, establishing, and revisiting state policies. The 6 ministries are the 6 major executive bodies of the state, split in the respective affairs of state matters: employment, taxation, rights, military affairs, law enforcement, and public works. This is also what allows the strengthened ministry action in the Middle Kingdom. Very nice. Unique advances. Some of these are general for China, others are unique for Yuan, and others are unique for Chinese-ruled China. So, we have Confucian advances in the Age of Traditions, efficiency of cabinet, great modifier, prime promotion cost modifier. It's a strange wording, but I believe this is how much it costs to promote one of your cabinet members into the, I guess, prime position, being the prime minister or what have you. This essentially costs the same amount of money as hiring the dude in the first place. So if you're spending 50 ducats, I'm going to call them ducats, I don't care if it's gold, it's always ducats. If you're spending 50 ducats to hire a guy, you can then spend another 50 ducats to promote him. In this case, you're going to be spending, I should have chose better numbers, 16 and something, whatever, 16 and a half ducats to less to promote him, which is kind of nice. Anyway, successors of Genghis Khan, giving you some monthly legitimacy, very nice. The Li Jia system, giving proximity cost minus 5%, also very, very handy modifier, especially for a very heavily, inland country, right? Obviously, you've got a lot of coastal land that you're going to be able to spread proximity to with your maritime presence, and that's going to be great. All the places along the coast going to be fantastic. But all of this land inland, you're going to need a little bit of help. Going up the Yellow River, right? You're going to need a little help, and proximity cost minus 5% is really going to help with that. We also have the Censorate in the Age of Discovery, giving plus 25% crown power, which is fantastic. That is actually pretty huge. This will, and then essentially, if we go back up here to the efficiency of cabinet, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, crown power also affected the efficiency of your cabinet. The higher your crown power, the more efficient your cabinet. So this is fantastic. Love this. I love this. This is fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Parallel to other institutes within our administration, this branch of our government is in charge of preventing corruption. The censors are tasked with keeping palatial intrigues and malfeasance in check, often seen as the eyes and ears of the emperor. We also have 9 garrisons of the Great Wall in the Age of Reformation, giving you plus 20% fort defense, which is, I guess, not just on the Great Wall of China, but like all forts. Simply repairing the Great Wall itself will not be enough. 9 garrisons are militarized garrison towns along the wall that will not only help to defend the important passes, but also improve the overall logistics situation of the northern border. We have the Jingdezhen porcelain, giving cultural influence and porcelain output. Fantastic modifiers there, especially if you make a lot of porcelain, naturally. And at the start of the game, due to being a non-Chinese emperor, they also have a unique law, the Status of the Han, giving plus 25% cultural influence. Pobs joining rebel threshold plus 5%, which is obviously bad, because, satisfaction needs to go down to the threshold, and if the threshold is higher by 5%, then they join faster, right? And then, obviously, monthly progress to uncincized as well. Very cool. The current policy is due to the presence of the following character. Already assigned as head of the cabinet at the start due to his powerful influence in Yuan politics. We have a Murkid Bayan. Dude's got a grin. Dude has got an grin. Anyway. He is a Mongolian Tibetan Buddhist. He's, pretty influential. He's a good militarist there. The smug look of superiority indeed. Soon after the start of the game, an event will fire and people will start rebelling against him. The authoritarian policies of Murkid Bayan have significantly altered the political atmosphere of the Great Yuan in the last couple of years. He wields almost absolute control of the government and is feared even by the entire court and even the emperor himself. To end Bayan's reign of terror, a plot has been forged by Murkid Tokta, who wishes to topple his uncle in a perfidious coup, perhaps even becoming the new Grand Counselor himself. I think this should be Grand Chancellor. I saw a comment in the comment section below about those, or in the replies. Unsurprisingly, even Borjigin Togon Timur Huangdi is in on the plot, hoping to limit the power this powerful aristocrat. So proceed with the plan, reveal the plot, or have him deposed and pull the rug. Substituting one autocrat with another will not be without its drawbacks, but will allow for further events, repealing the previous policies. So you get Absolute Grand Chancellor giving plus 15 crown power. Again, pretty good modifier. Is that worth some stability decay? Who knows? Who knows? Now that Merkit Tokta is in charge, he is looking to reverse his uncle's policies in many fields. As his next target, he is set to reverse the policy of expel from bureaucracy, which has alienated many Chinese citizens and pushed them towards various rebellions aimed at overthrowing the dynasty. Even during Merkit Bayan's lifetime, the policy was secretly criticized as too harsh, but no one could have opposed the powerful dictator. And then we have the fate of the Keiju examination. We saw these Keiju examinations on the Middle Kingdom IO diary that we got on Wednesday. Now that Merkit Tokta is in charge, he's looking to reverse his uncle's policies. One of them is the direct appointment. The result of this policy was detrimental to our bureaucracy, as it ended the one institution that for centuries promoted many skilled students to positions in the government of Yuan and its predecessors. And now he's looking to bring back the Keiju examination. We can only hope the faith in the system will be restored. Fantastic. As you know, China and the Yellow River have a propensity for flooding. There's also an event for some historical ones that happened close to the start of the game. In EU4, this was nightmarishly awful, to the point where after it was implemented, they then rolled back a lot of the negative events, because it was too punishing. Hopefully we're not going to get something quite so bad here. We'll see. A series of catastrophic weather events has struck Huai'an. Nailed it. Causing widespread devastation and suffering. That alone is a calamity. But the downpours reached the Grand Canal of China, causing it to fill up and overflow. This unprecedented event has hampered the functioning of the canal, in turn severing the link between the south and the north. Though this damage can theoretically be repaired, it would come at a significant cost, which we cannot possibly bear in our current state. But can Yuan survive without the Grand Canal? So, if tragedy strikes the nation, you render it practically unusable, weakening the effects from Grand Canal of China to Grand Canal of China damaged. Alright, so you change it from prox cost, food capacity, and multi-dev growth into bad prox cost. That sucks. There will be a proposal for permanent solution to the problem via a reroute of the river. Okay. A recent catastrophic rains resulted in the Yellow River changing its flow. Moreover, the flooding of the river caused widespread pain, misery, and death. To make matters worse, it's greatly disrupted the operation of the Grand Canal, depriving Beijing of crucial food imports from South China. In order to alleviate the results of the calamity, our ministers have proposed assembling a force of over 170,000 labourers to return the course of the river back to its proper place. And the whole situation will nonetheless cause some agitation, with some prominent characters appearing, such as Han Shantong. Vile agitator has been spreading wicked propaganda among the workers currently working on rerouting the Yellow River. As per our records, the character in question is Han Shantong, a zealot of the White Lotus sect who is prophesying the imminent forthcoming of the Maitreya Buddha. We believe he had his followers bury a one-eyed stone statue on the root of the project so the workers would dig it up. The statue was inscribed with a text spelling the end of the Yuan dynasty. Though our forces did their best to stop this upstart from detracting workers from their project. Should it be distracting? I feel like this should be distracting. Many did defect, as of now we're not sure of the whereabouts of the White Lotus chieftain. He's a vicious dissident, operating in the Shandong area of the country, claims descent from the Song dynasty, a vivid agitator representing the White Lotus sect. We received intel on the exact whereabouts of him, so we should make the arrest or do nothing about it. And if you make the arrest, he just gets imprisoned forever, and you may trigger the Red Turban Rebellion situation, which, that's a rough one. Just historically speaking, I suggest you look at the Wikipedia page for most deadly wars in history, and just see how close to the top the Red Turban Rebellion is. There's also other historical events, and some examples of that is Yuan Shi. Customary for each successive Chinese dynasty to have the history of the preceding one compiled and added to the official histories collection. Now is the time to do the same for the preceding Yuan. Thankfully, Song Lian is interested in doing so, but requires additional funds to make it into reality. So you can spare the funds and you get the history of Yuan work of art. Very nice. You also get Great Admiral Zheng He, Commoners and prisoners of war find it difficult to rise through the social ranks, yet it's quite remarkable when one such individual appears. It seems this is the case of a eunuch by the name of Zheng He. Having been captured and castrated at a young age, Zheng He began his servitude at the house of a local prince in Yunnan. After winning the prince's trust, he was sent to Kanbalik to hone his education, where he excelled. No miracle that such a man has made a great impression on Bojgin Togon Timur Huangdi. So without a doubt that Zheng He will make a fine admiral and a leader for our glorious people. So you get him as a character, really, really good stats. And he is Sunni. Okay then. Another interesting thing available to China is the Great Wall, represented by two different buildings. The ancient Great Wall of China represents the old part of the wall, already present at the start, and obviously not buildable anymore, while the Great Wall of China is the one that gets built when a selection of the wall is repaired and expanded. So the ancient wall gives some garrison size at a fort level, and then you can upgrade it to the Great Wall, which is a more garrison size, a fort level, and allows zone of control. So this one doesn't do zone of control, this one does. Okie dokie, fair enough. And this is the locations where the wall is present at the start of the game. And you can upgrade this and build it to the full extent of the existing, historical Great Wall of China, which is very cool. There's more, but they can't show everything. Obviously, it's a tier 1 nation, so naturally. Next week, there will be no map review, but on Wednesday, there will be the Red Turban Rebellion and the Crisis of the Chinese Dynasty. And then on Friday, there will be flavor about Ayat Daya, Daiviet, and the Khmer. But as per usual, we have some developer comments to go through and have a look at and glean information from. So for starters, will we get to see Han Shantong's son, Han Linair? And if you don't mind me asking, why did you write it as Shantong rather than joined Shantong? Also, will the two characters be prevalent in next week's diary? So, yes, his son is also present. The issue of the split name is due to dynamic naming. To be able to properly represent names in all the Chinese languages, we had to split each character into its specific block. The idea is to eventually, for the system to allow for them to be joined together and uncapitalized the second one. But the part of the code is not implemented yet. So, right now, it's Shantong. Hopefully, soon, it will be Shantong. Makes sense. You say the Great Wall expanded. Does that mean you can freely build it? Not freely, only on the historical path of the wall. That seems reasonable. Perfect. Is the law dynamically applied to any non-Han culture emperor? And he's talking about this law here, the status of the Han. For example, if the Qing are formed, would they initially have this law applied, where the Ming would not? Any leader of the Middle Kingdom that is not Chinese will get that. And as for the flood, is there more dynamic non-historical floods too? Do they also occur in regions which receive floods, or is it just something that happens to China? There are also other countries that get different events related to floods, yes. And yeah, this is catastrophic rains, flooding, all of that nastiness. Is there a system in place that forbids Yuan from changing primary culture and or religion? Because it seems a no-brainer to do so. Same restrictions as any other country. It's a really good question, because if we go back to the top and we have a look here, no idea where Mongolian is in this ever, crazy-looking pie chart. But if you can swap your primary culture to, say, Wu, you're probably in a really good position. But I don't know if you're going to be able to. I don't know how much of a percent you need as your, the majority to be able to swap to it. Because, 12.5% is not a whole lot of percent, right? Very happy to see there will be many new and reasonable conditions, chain of events caused by the Yellow River flood for triggering the Red Turban Rebellion rather than simply being triggered by a drop in a state's loyalty. Some problems still with the flavor content. So, to start with, history books compiled in the late Mongol Yuan dynasty were the history of the Song, history of Jin, and history of Liao. One of the reasons for the late compilation was that after Kublai Khan established the Ike Yuan, there was a long period of civil war and turmoil, and there's only a brief peace during the Togen Temur period. The history of Yuan did not appear until the Ming dynasty replaced the Yuan dynasty. So the history of Yuan is indeed scripted to happen at a later date. He just triggered it through the console. Okay, fair enough. Zheng He's trigger is also very strange. Is this for testing? He became a eunuch because he became a prisoner of war and was castrated. In addition, Zheng He's faith is a more difficult issue. Born a Muslim, but accepted the tenets of Taoism and Buddhism during his growth, so he can be said to be a Sanjiao. So they make him appear as an adult directly, so he was already castrated by them. His faith is true that it's not as clear-cut, but they decided to leave it as Muslim due to his influence in spreading Islam. Fair enough. And the Great Wall during the Yuan dynasty did play a role, for example, during the Mongol Civil War, used by Beijing nobles to resist attacks from grassland. The ancient Great Wall is already present at the start, so it can already play a role. The renovated Great Wall is to represent precisely the Ming works on it. Very cool. Good answers there. Can you establish an ahistorical custom dynasty with a custom flag and name? If you destroy and recreate China yourself, you'll keep your current flag and your current name. So in that sense, yes. I hope at least if you do that, then you could be called Great something. So if you, I don't know, explode and you're, I don't know, you're named the Wu, right? If you start playing as the Wu, you start playing as Great Yuan collapses and you start playing as a country called Wu. Can you be called Great Wu if you then, you know, recreate China? Is that a thing? Who knows? When a dynasty is overthrown, but doesn't cease to exist, maybe the Great prefix should be replaced with a cardinal direction, just as the case with Southern Song, Northern Yuan, Southern Min, etc. If they lose the emperorship, they will lose the Great, although assigning a cardinal adjective to them is not that easy. And here is the one for Great Counselor rather than Great Chancellor. As I was saying before, is the Yellow River flooding in game still as severe as in EU4? It is not, I think. Look, there's a lot of questions in this thread, and then he doesn't specify which one he's replying to. Additionally, can the Yellow River flooding be permanently resolved by players? I prefer to retain flooding as a recurring issue, since it's always been a major challenge for historical Chinese dynasties, and it adds to the depth of gameplay. However, I hope it won't be as catastrophically devastating as in EU4, where triggering it feels like an apocalyptic event. So it's not an apocalyptic event. These historical events are a one-time thing. I don't know. I feel like the river flooded more than once, but when you're looking at, like, catastrophic, you know, apocalyptic level floods, I feel like you can probably limit it to one, but I like having smaller generic flooding events is also probably fine. And then finally, is there nothing stopping me from changing back to promote Chinese bureaucracy? Won't Merkid buy and intervene and react in some way? So it has a steep price to change it, but if you want to go that route, you are free to do so. Alright, and that is it. That is it for the Chinese flavor dev diary. Let me know what you guys think. And again, I asked you after the last video whether you are interested in playing as the Great Yuan. If you said no to that, has this dev diary made you change your mind and you're thinking, you know what, maybe I will give it a shot. Maybe there is a lot going on here. It doesn't matter that I'm super strong, super powerful compared to literally every other country in the entire world. Maybe there's something here for me. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm always interested to read them. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.